Hello, Maurieo. In this video I'm just going to have a look at this some tips and hints that I've put here for drawing the site diagram or site plan. Initially we were going to use the house that I've provided with you already that you've drawn up. I was going to try and site that on another lot, but it turns out that this lot is quite unusual and that the house is very particular to this lot. This particular lot has quite a long road frontage with a short distance to the back. Normally developers try and have less road frontage because that costs a lot of money. They can get more sections on the road frontage because it costs a lot of money to develop the roads. However, this is not the case here. So what I've decided to do is to just go with the original lot that was in the set of plans that you have been given, and we're going to site it on there. So here we go. So the first thing that we've got to do is to draw up the boundaries, and the boundaries are put together as a series of bearings and distances. Now you'll notice that some of the bearings on here are different to what's on the original plan. That's because of the way that I've drawn them up. Now a bearing that is 180 degrees different from the original bearing is still the same line, it's just going in a different direction. So if we take for instance this particular line here, which is 79 degrees 51, that's going in this direction up here, 79 degrees 51. Going back the other direction, and I haven't written it on here for this one, would be 259 degrees 51, going back the other direction. You can see here in this diagram here that 79 degrees 51 would be up through there from between north and east, and 259 51 would be down here somewhere between south and west. It's the same line, it's just in the opposite direction. Just if you're skating along on your skateboard, say heading north, and you do a 180 and go back the other direction, you're going south. You're going in the same direction, you're going on the same line but just a different direction. So if you say want to change a bearing, you think it's going the wrong way, if it's between 0 and 180, okay, if it's less than 180, add 180 degrees. If it's more than 180 degrees, subtract 180. And here's some examples here: 0, 180, 45, 225, 90, 270, 135, 315, and 180 and 360, and all points in between. So what I've done here with most of these is I've shown them, so 33125 is going that way, 15125, 180 different, just going in the opposite direction. And I've done that for most of them here, all of them except this one. So that's your bearings. So you have to get them going in the right direction, which you can get here off the thing, so you can work out what direction they should be going. So if, say for instance, this bearing here, which might have been 259.51, it was going that way, I want to go the other way, I just subtracted 180. So now it comes to putting them into AutoCAD. So just use a normal line function and just go draw a line, click on the start point somewhere, and then before you do that you've got to override the angle. Okay, so what you do is you just put in this little symbol here, the less than symbol, and then you put in what angle you want to put in. So in this case 79, and you put a D in there, 79D, 51 minutes 00 seconds. Push enter, and that creates an angle override. It actually says angle override, and then you just enter the distance, 21.52, and then you're on to the next one. So, and then from the next one, do the same thing. You want to go in that direction, so 144.42. So you'd push the less than symbol, and then 144D, 42 minutes 00 seconds. Enter. Make sure you get that angle override thing, and then put in the distance. Thing with this is you must make sure, of course, that you must be in the have your units set to degrees, minutes and seconds into that mode, so it understands your input. So what you do is you go around and you put all your boundary bearings and distances in around through to here. Now when you come to the last one, you join it up and you make sure that it's pretty close to that. Like I think when I did it, it was like a couple of minutes out, which not a problem. 32338, it's a little bit out, not too much, and the distance was maybe 10 mils out or something like that. Normally if the distances on the plans and that are shown to the nearest 2 decimal places, that's what you would show them to. You can't make them, you know, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. You can't make them more accurate than they were to start with. That's just inviting trouble. Now once you get your boundary bearings and distances in, it's usual to put some sort of symbol at the corner. Now I notice in the plan there they've used a sort of a solid symbol. That's actually the symbol that I traditionally have used as a borehole symbol, and what I traditionally use for a peg is just a circle, a little circle, maybe just slightly wider than the line width, or maybe, you know, 2 mils or whatever. I just have a look at it and sort of whatever feels right. You know, you don't want it too much bigger. The thing is though, that if you put the little circle in, you get the lines underneath, and you don't want to trim the lines because that'll trim their length. So you want it so when you click on the line they stay the same. So what we do there is we just put what we call a wipeout under the circle. Now to create a wipeout, you first of all have to create a 50 side a polygon. So I just create a polygon with the same radius as the circle. Circumscribed I tend to use a polygon with 50 sides, and then you type in the wipeout command, and it asks you select the polygon, make the polygon disappear, and there your wipeout is, like there. Probably want to set the line width of your little circle and your polygon to 0, so that you just get nice crisp clear circles. So once I've created one of those, I just do a copy, type in CP, copy, center, and then I just copy it to all the other corners and put it over it. So what it does, it sits over the top of a line. So if you do draw a line and it shows up through the wipeout, you can just click on the line and right click on the line, and then using the draw order command send the line to the back so that the wipeout comes to the front, and you just get a nice clear little circle like that. Just another thing here, the degree symbol, when you're entering the degree symbol for doing your lettering and stuff, you might want to use, you just put an Alt 248, hold the Alt key down, 248, that creates the degree symbol. Okay, so there we are, we've got our boundaries in, and boundary bearings, and we've got our boundaries in. Now the thing is that when you put them in, and you go and try and scale it, and I've got in this case here on our standard format, I've used a scale of 10 to 1, which is a 1 to 100, 1 to 100 scale. You'll find that the lot doesn't fit on the paper, and that you have to rotate it in the viewport. So as you can see there, I've got north sort of slightly rotated there, that's where north is. So how do you rotate it? You see in the viewport, so you rotate it in the viewport so that when you work on it in model space, it still stays true with its bearings and distances. So to rotate the view in the viewport, you use the what we call the MV setup command, which you just type in MV setup, and then align, rotate, and then it asks you to create a base point. You can put anyone in that you like, put a base point in there, and then rotate it about minus 30 degrees, and you'll find then that if you then go like that and go into the viewport and sort of move things around, there's a bit of a pan function there in the viewport, so you can just move it so it fits in nicely like that, and then lock the viewport, set your scale at round about 1 to 10 to 1. That's what I set it at, which is actually 1 to 100, I think. you'll have to look at my previous one on that. That will depend a lot on what you've got your units set at, if you've got them set at meters or millimeters. But anyway, that's how I've got it there. So yeah, you get that rotated. You will want to draw a north point. Now you comes to a little bit of lettering. When you probably the best thing to do is to, or what I did was to set the format the lettering to an annotative style that's 3 meters high in paper space, and then you also need to tick the box to say that your lettering will be horizontal, will be aligned with the viewport. So if you don't do that, everything will be aligned with the 30th degree rotation. So when you set your annotative text style, you need to make sure that you set it so that it's all aligned with the viewport. So inputting the house. So you can draw up the house anywhere in model space, preferably away from where you've done your boundary bearings and what have you. So create your house, or the enough of the house that's going to be there for putting in on the site plan, and then you create it and you make it into a block. So turn it into a block. Because I did my house in, I think I drew my house in millimeters, and I wanted to import it into this drawing here, I actually had to scale it down by 1000. So I just went scale and 0.001 and just scaled it down so that it was in the same terms as the drawing here. And then you can just create it as a block, and then you can just move it into the lot there, and then you've got to try and position it how you want it. So as a block, you can move it and rotate it and scale it. They're the three things that you can do. So looking at the old plan, they had a distance from here to here, so I drew a circle centered there of that distance, and then they had an offset from this boundary here, so I drew an offset line for that boundary there, and where the two intersected. And if you're doing that intersection, I suggest you turn the line weight off. You can turn it on and off, have the line weight showing or line weights off. I suggest you turn it off, it just makes it easier for lining things up. And so then what I did was grab the block by this corner and made it coincide with where the circle and the offset line met. And so then I could delete the circle, delete the offset line. Now then it showed another offset from here to here in this area here, so I put that offset line in, and then I rotated the house about the center of this point, rotated it using the reference line. So I went clicked on here, and then dragged the reference line to meet that offset line that I've drawn, and then I rotated the house accordingly, clicked it all in, got rid of the offset line, and then just checked that these measurements agreed with what was on the original site plan, and yes, they did. I noticed that they had a further dimension over here, which can really only be a check dimension, because you'll get different little errors in these boundaries here that are not really definable in AutoCAD, and it can be quite significant. So I would this set out, in terms of this set out here, one nice good fixed position there. This position here is floating, in other words it's lining up along that wall, so it's not in any fixed thing there. And then we can sort of see what happens over here, and as it turns out, I think I was a millimeter out for that line. So there you go. There's just some little tips to get you started on drawing your site plan. Yeah, good luck, and if you have any problems, just remember that you can always contact or get in touch with Maurieo, and we'll see if we can sort something out for you. Cheers.